Welcome to English Grammar 1, Unit 2, Present Simple. Today we are going to study the second tense in English. We have already studied a present continuous. Today we are going to study present simple. A present simple is used to express a fact or a habit. Habit here means routines. Permanent action, schedules, and frequency. If we speak of facts, we can take some examples here. The sun rises in the east. The earth goes around the sun. These two examples express global facts, and we can take a scientific fact. We can say water boils at 100 degrees centigrade. And we can take another geographical fact and say the river Jordan flows into the Dead Sea. For habits and routines, you can say I wake up at 7 o'clock. Every day I wake up at 7 o'clock. Every day I go to school. And I go to bed at 11. I go to bed at 11. For permanent actions, we can say we live in Gaza. For example, we say we live in Gaza. We is plural, so we use the base form only here. Another example, he works at school. He is singular, so we use the verb plus s here. So we say he works at school. This is a permanent action. People don't usually change their jobs every day. So it takes a long time to change the job. So we consider this action as a permanent action. So we say he works at school. We use present simple. To speak about actions that come within schedules, then we use this example. Our class starts at 8. Classes at university or at schools usually start or go upon a timetable. So our class starts at 8 o'clock. The flight arrives at noon. Flights also arrive or depart based on a timetable. So we say the flight arrives at noon. So we use the present simple to express actions within timetable. We can say we can use present simple to express actions that are repeated, that are frequent. So we can say, for example, she always goes to school by bus. This is a repeated action. And here always is an adverb of frequency. The form of present simple is subject plus verb. subject plus verb plus s, or subject plus verb plus es, or subject plus verb plus ies. When the subject is plural, for example, I, we, you, they, we use verb or base form. When the subject is singular, when the subject is singular, when the subject is singular, we use verb plus s or es or ies. For example, we say he plus verb plus s, or she plus verb plus es, or it plus verb plus ies. Examples of a plural, you say I play football every day. I go to the university every day. We study English. I work in a bank. They play football every day. So we use here play, work, study without any addition because the subject is plural. In the case of the subject as singular, we can say he studies English. He reads a book. Here we use verb plus s. He reads a book. She works in a bank. Here we use verb plus s. If the verb ends in ch, sh, double s, x, then we use es or o sometimes. So we say he watches TV. Listen to watches. Here, watches, we have es at the end. She washes her face every day morning. So we use es. If the verb ends in a consonant plus y, for example, study or cry, we change the y into I, then add es. He studies English. She cries every night. Cries, here the y changed into I, then we added es. There are keywords for present simple such as never, and the possibility of happening of never is 0. Rarely the possibility of happening is 10 to 20%. Sometimes the possibility of happening is 50%. Often the possibility of happening is 75%. Always the possibility of happening is 100%. And we have usually as well and every with another word. Every with another word. For example, every year, every day, every week, etc. Study this example situation. A. Study this example situation. Alex is a bus driver, but now he is in bed asleep. Means now he is sleeping. He is not driving a bus now at the moment. He is asleep. But every day he drives a bus. He drives a bus. This is the repeated action done by him. This is his job to drive a bus, so we use it in the present simple. It is his job, a long time or a permanent action, so we use it in the present simple. So he drives a bus every day. He is a bus driver. Drives here is a verb in the present simple, and since the subject is singular, so we use s with the verb drive. Works can be he works as a bus driver. He works as a bus driver. Works here is a present simple, so we use s because the subject is singular. If we say he does his homework every day, does here, do is a verb, and because it is a present simple with a singular subject, so we add es because it ends with o. I drive to work every day. We drive to work every day. You drive to work every day. They drive to work every day. Here, if we look to the verb drive, it is in the present simple because we speak about a habit, something repeated, something which is repeated, an action which is repeated. I work in a bank. I work in a bank. We work in a bank. You work in a bank and they work in a bank. Here work is a present simple because this is a permanent, a long time action, so we use it in the present simple. And since the subject is plural, so we don't use anything with the verb work. We just use the base form. I do my homework every day. We do our homework every day. You do your homework every day. They do their homework every day. And here the verb do is the base form because the subject is plural. If the subject is singular, then he drives to work every day. She drives to work every day. She drives to school every day. He drives to school every day. So we use the verb plus s. He works at school. She works at school. So we use a verb plus s because the subject is singular. He does his homework. She does her homework. Here the subject is singular, so we use the verb plus s. B, we use the present simple to talk about things in general. Here means we use it to say that something happens all the time or repeatedly. If we speak of something is repeated or happens repeatedly, then we think of a habit, or sometimes we think of a fact, something which is always true. That something is true in general. Nurses look after patients in hospitals. Here nurses plural, and we speak here about a habit, or let's say a job, and the job is a permanent action. a very long action, so we use a present simple. And since nurses are plural, so we use the verb in the base form only without any addition. I usually go away at weekends. This is a habit here, a repeated action, and usually is an adverb of a frequency, shows that the action is repeated. So we speak of a habit, we use a present simple, and since the subject is I plural, so we use the verb in the base form. So it becomes I usually go away at weekends. The earth goes round the sun. This is a global fact. This is a fact. This is always true. It never changes. So we say the earth goes, we use the present simple, and we can replace the earth with the pronoun it. Means it is singular, so the verb must take S. And since the verb go ends with the letter O, so we add ES. The cafe opens at 7:30 in the morning. The owners of the cafe open the cafe at 7:30 in the morning. The cafe is singular, we can replace it by it, so we can say it opens. We use present simple. This is a timetable, or this is always happening in the morning, so it is a repeated action, so we use it in the present simple. So it becomes the coffee singular, and the verb must take the S, so it becomes the coffee opens at 7:30 in the morning. Remember, I work, he works. I is plural, so we use the verb in the base form. But he works, he is singular, so we use the verb in the base form plus S, because it is singular. They teach, they is plural, so we use the verb in the base form only. But my sister teaches, my sister is singular, so we must use S, but here the verb teach ends in CH. That's why we must add ES, not S only. So it becomes teaches. C. We use do, does to make questions and negative sentences. Here, in the case of the present simple, we have a main verb. In the case of a present continuous, we have a linking verb, am, is, are. So in the case of the present continuous, we move the linking verb forward to form yes or no question. But in the case of the present simple, we don't have am, is, are, verb to be. So we are supposed to get verb to be. We have main verbs. When we have main verb here, like work, drive, do, so we must bring auxiliary verb, or what is called helping verb, do, does, to form the question, to form yes or no question and other types of questions, and to form the negative. So when we say I work, we work, you work, they work, here the statement like this is a sentence. So to form a question, we can't move the main verb forward. So what is to be done? We are supposed to get the auxiliary verb, do or does. And the verb here, work, drive, do, because the subject is plural, I, we, you, they, so we use do. So we bring do forward. So the question, the yes or no question is formed like this. Do I work? Do we work? Do you work? Do they work? Do I drive? Do we drive? Do you drive? Do they drive? Do I do? Do we do? Do you do? Do they do? The first do is auxiliary verb, helping verb, and work, drive, and do are the main verbs. And we put the question mark. Yes, I work. This is the answer. If it is yes, I do, not yes, I work. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. No, I don't. No, I don't. No, I don't. In the case of singular, he works, she works, it works, he drives, she drives, it drives, it works, it does. So we must use S with the verb because the subject is singular. So when we want to get the auxiliary verb or the helping verb, so we put the S with the auxiliary verb with the helping verb do. So it becomes does. And what happens to the main verb? It goes back to its original base form. So works becomes work, and drives becomes drive, and does becomes do. It goes back to its original base form because the S is added to the helping verb do. So it becomes does. So we say, does he work? Does she work? Does it work? Does he drive? Does she drive? Does it drive? Does he does it work? Does it drive? Does it do? This is how the yes or no question is formed, and how to form the negative form and the other table. I, we, you, they. If I say I work, we work, you work, they work. I drive, we drive, you drive, they drive. I do, we do, you do, they do. So here do is a main verb. To make negative, we must use helping verb. The helping verb in this case is do because the subject is plural. So we use do and we add not to make it negative. So it becomes I don't work, we don't work, you don't work, they don't work. I don't drive, we don't drive, you don't drive, they don't drive. The case of singular, the original sentence is like this. He works, she works, it works. He drives, she drives, it drives. He does, she does, it does. To form the negative, we add do plus the S is taken from the main verb and added to do, it becomes does. So we use does and we use not to express the negative. We use not to express the negative, then it becomes like this. And the main verb goes back to its original form, the base form, a bare verb without any addition. So it becomes he doesn't work, she doesn't work, it doesn't work. He doesn't drive, she doesn't drive, it doesn't drive. He doesn't do, she doesn't do, it doesn't do. I come from Canada. Where do you come from? It becomes like this. Where do you come from? we first form yes or no question. I is plural, so we use the helping verb do. So what is the yes or no question here is, do you come from Canada? And we ask about Canada is a place, so we ask using the WH question word where. So we add where before the yes or no question and omit Canada and erase Canada. It becomes where do you come from? I don't go away very often. The positive sentence is I go away very often. Very often expresses a habit or repeated action, so we use present simple. I is plural, so we use go. Verb in the base form only. To make it negative, we use do, don't. So it becomes I don't go away very often. When you use the helping verb do or does or don't or doesn't, you must reverse or return the main verb into its original form, its base form. You must you must change the main verb into its base form. What does this word mean? What does this word mean? The original sentence, for example, this word means, because single, the subject is singular, this word. So we use S with the verb mean. So it becomes this word means, for example, lucky. So to make yes or no question, we say we use does, because the verb has here S. Because the subject is singular, so it becomes does this word mean lucky? And to ask about the meaning of the word, it is something, so we use what. So we use the WH question word what. So we say what does this word mean and omit or erase the word lucky. We must use here the verb to do. We must use the helping verb do or does. We don't write the question directly, what means this word? We don't write the helping verb directly. We don't write the question directly without adding helping verb do, does. Rice doesn't grow in cold climates. The positive sentence is rice grow in hot climates, for example. So to make it negative, so we say rice grows. Rice is uncountable, so it is considered singular. So we say rice grows in cold climates. To make it negative, we use does, so it becomes rice doesn't grow in cold climates. In the following examples, do is also the main verb. Do you do? Does, doesn't do, etc. What do you do? I work in a shop. This is a question. The question is asked about the verb itself. So we replace the verb by do. And since the verb is plural and we speak about a job, then it is a permanent action. so it is in the present simple. So we use do as a helping verb, and we replace work in a shop with do, because we are asking about the question, not about any other thing in the sentence. So we about the action. So we replace the action by the verb do. He is always so lazy. He doesn't do anything to help. If it is a positive sentence, we say he does something to help. He does something to help. And the verb does here is a main verb. And to make it negative, we must use does, because it is singular. So we use does, and we change the main verb into the base form. So it becomes he doesn't, and the main verb becomes what? The base form do. So it becomes he doesn't do anything to help. To explain these sentences further, we can look at these sentences. I come from Canada. I come from Canada. First, we make yes or no question. It becomes do you come from Canada? Here the verb is I come from Canada. This is a fact. My country is Canada, for example. So we say I come from Canada. It is a present simple. And to make yes or no question, we must use a helping verb. Here we don't have a helping verb. Come is the main verb. So we use do or does in the present simple. So we use do because come is a base form and the subject is plural. So we use do. It becomes do you come from Canada? This is a yes or no question. To make it WH question, to ask about Canada, the underlined word Canada, then we add where in the beginning and omit Canada, erase Canada from the end. It becomes where do you come from? It becomes where do you come from? This is how to form the question. The WH questions comes as a second stage for the yes or no question. What does this word mean? This is the question. If we say the original sentence is this word means lucky, then to form yes or no question, we use does, because the verb means is singular. It takes S, so we use does. Then the first question becomes, does this word mean lucky? And since we ask about a word, something, then we use WH question word what. So we write what does this word mean, and we omit lucky because what is asking about lucky. So it becomes what does this word mean? What do you do? The answer is I work in a shop. If we look at the sentence I work in a shop, then it is a permanent action. It is in the present simple and the subject is plural. So the verb is in the base form without any addition. So we need to get the helping verb do to use it for yes or no question. So it becomes like this. Do you work in a shop? This is yes or no question. And working in the shop, we are asking about the action. And the action is something. So we use the WH question word what. And we must replace. In the previous sentences, for example, Canada, we omitted Canada, but we didn't add anything in its place. But here, When you ask about the verb itself or the action itself, you must replace it with do in the same form. Here, do you work in a shop? Here, work is the base form because we use do. We must change the main verb into its original base form. Here, work. Work here is not the present simple. Work here is in the base form, in the yes or no question. Where do you work in a shop? It is the base form. So we must change the verb itself into do, into the verb do using the same form. Since work is in the base form because we use do as a helping verb, so we must use do in the place of work in a shop in the same form. Work in a shop is base form, so we use do in the base form. So the question becomes like this: what do you do? What do you do? D. We use the present simple to say how often we do things, to speak about repetition. You repeat doing things. I get up at 8 o'clock every morning. This is my daily routine. This is a habit. I get up at 8 o'clock every morning. Every morning is an adverb of frequency. So we use a present simple. I is plural, so we use get in the base form. How often do you go to the dentist? Here we have often, adverb of frequency. So we ask about repeated action. So we say I go to the dentist 2 times in the month or twice a month. To ask about twice a month, so we ask first, we use do because the verb is in the base form, the subject is plural you. So we say, do you often go to the dentist? Twice a month. And we use how often and omit or erase twice a month, so it becomes how often do you go to the dentist? Julie doesn't drink tea very often. We speak about repeated action. We have very often here. Often indicates frequency, so we use the verb in the present simple, and since it is negative and Julie is singular, so we use does, so it becomes Julie doesn't drink tea very often. If the sentence is positive, we say Julie drinks tea very often. Drinks here is singular with the verb as, so to make it negative we use does, so it becomes Julie doesn't, and we change the verb drinks into the base form, it becomes a drink. So we say Julie doesn't drink tea very often. Robert usually goes away 2 or 3 times a year. We have adverb of frequency usually, so we speak about repeated action. So we use present simple, and the subject is singular, so we use s with the verb, and the verb here go ends with the vowel o, so we add es, so it becomes Robert usually goes away 2 or 3 times a year. E, In the case of expressing apology or promise, to say the word promise or apologize, we use it in the present simple, because here you assure something. When you assure something, means in the case of promise, means you speak about something which is abstract, stative. So we use it in the present simple. Sometimes we do things by saying something. For example, when you promise to do something, you can say, I promise. You don't say, I am promising. Because this is a kind of stative verb, a verb of no action. When you suggest something, the verb suggest is as well stative verb of no action. So you use it in the present simple. You say, I suggest, I promise I won't be late. The sentence becomes like this. I is singular, so we use the verb promise in the base form without adding s. So it becomes, I promise I won't be late, not I am promising. What do you suggest I do? Suggest as well a kind of abstract verb, so you don't use it in the present continuous. This part will be studied later on in another unit. Stative verbs and action verbs. Stative verbs and action verbs. What do you suggest I do? So we use here suggest in the present simple, and you is the subject. To form the question, we use do, and to form WH question with what, we add what at the beginning, so it becomes, what do you suggest I do? Question mark. I suggest that you, this is the answer. In the same way, we say I apologize, I advise, I insist, I agree, I refuse, etc. Thank you.